Well, hello. I had a fun time this morning recording a video blog about my punch in the face suggestion yesterday. Got a few responses to it, a few comments, some of them funny. So figured I had such a fun time doing it earlier today. I would do another one. This one a little bit more serious than the one that I did this morning. Over the last few days, I've had a lot of conversations with different people, friends of mine in Mississippi, who are really concerned about the Amendment 26 that's coming up, which is, even though Deidre and I live in Alabama, in Mobile, it's still a issue that's still very near and dear to our hearts because the pro-life cause is very near and dear to our hearts. So she and I both had several conversations with people in person and through social media like Facebook that have really caused a significant amount of emotional stress for the both of us, as I'm sure it's caused a lot of emotional stress for other people who are having conversations about it, other people that live on both sides of the issue that come down for or against, because it is a very sensitive, very near and dear issue. Statistic that I heard a few days ago is that something like 35% of women childbearing age today have had an abortion. That's like over a third of the women childbearing age have had an abortion, an elective abortion. That's not counting things like ectopic pregnancies and spontaneous abortions like miscarriage and those sorts of things. I'm talking about 1/3 of all women have had an abortion, a little more than a third, actually. But so it's something that touches all of us. It's something that's very important to us, regardless of what side of the issue we might come down on. But I've probably had a dozen conversations with people over the last couple of days about it. And of those people that come down on the no side of the issue, they all seem to have the same objections. They're concerned about a woman's access to in vitro fertilization. There's 3 or 4 different things that they all bring up. In vitro fertilization is one of them. It's got to be a terrible thing to have an issue, have a problem conceiving children. That's not a problem that Deej and I have ever had because, well, she's a fertile little turtle, I'm telling you. My mother used to say that if Deidre had more trouble having babies, then she probably wouldn't have as many because Deidre just, that's her thing, She's like the Venus and Serena Williams of childbearing. I mean, she's pretty accomplished at it. She's a regular virtuoso, and which I did not know when we started dating, but she is. But anyway, so we don't have fertility problems. We have problems with other words to start with F. Don't go crazy. I'm not talking about that word. I'm talking about financial problems. Yeah, things like that. But fertility, nah, we can have them. Feeding them is a different story, but we can have them. But anyway, so I can't imagine the pain and hardship that a woman must go through who has problems conceiving. So the last thing that I'll do is sit here in front of this camera or write things on Facebook that will attack women who have had in vitro fertilization or who plan on having in vitro fertilization or who have, fertilized eggs or whatever in freezer somewhere. I'm not here to try to put them down. I'm not here to try to take anything away from them. And I mean, the truth is, as I believe it, that the personhood amendment will not affect in vitro fertilization. I don't think that it will. It might. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a fortune teller. But my understanding, how it's been explained to me, is that since that it won't affect in vitro fertilization. Birth control access, the pill. Since the pill sometimes allows an egg to be fertilized and then it just simply is passed off, then that could be conceived as an abortifacient that And if that fertilized egg is a person, then that woman could be guilty of killing a person, and therefore access to birth control would be limited. IUDs, stuff like that. That's another objection that I've heard to, from it. But again, like the in vitro fertilization, my understanding is that that's not going to happen because birth control was legal prior to Roe v. Wade and legalized abortion, and so it will be legal afterwards. Do I know for a fact that it will be legal afterwards? Of course not. No one knows that it will for a fact because we can't tell the future. No one can tell you for a fact that it won't be because no one can tell the future. But we can look at different logical things and try to figure out, predict things as best we can guess it. And best guess, what I can tell is that it will still be just as legal. But even though I believe that it'll be just as legal to have birth control and to have in vitro fertilization and all these sorts of things, just for the sake of argument and making a point that I want to make before I run out of time here on my little video, I'll say, just for argument's sake, that maybe IVF and birth control will be completely illegal, and that women won't be able to get birth control, and women won't be able to get in vitro fertilizations. And that would be a bad thing for some people. It really would be. But then my question is, what about the 40 million babies that have been killed since Roe v. Wade? Because, again, I'm not trying to beat up on anyone. But when we say that we're going to deny the personhood of a fertilized egg simply because we want to have our in vitro fertilization, and when we say we want to deny the personhood of a fertilized egg because we want to have open and free access to birth control pills that may or may not cause a fertilized egg to be passed off. When we say these things, and we say that we're going to vote no for Amendment 26 or Initiative 26, the Personhood Amendment, when we say that we're going to vote no for those things just to make sure that we continue to have access to birth control and in vitro fertilization and stuff, what we're saying is that because of what we want, because of what we think we deserve, because of what we want, that we're willing to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the screams of the children that are killed every day in this country. Also, we can have birth control. Also, that we can have in vitro fertilization. And a few other things that the Personhood Amendment may or may not affect. So, I don't believe it's going to affect any of those things. But if it does, do we vote no and deny the personhood of a baby and allow 40 million of them to be aborted all over again just so we can have the one baby that we want that will carry our bloodline? Because let's not forget, there are a lot of children that are wasting away in foster care. They're wasting away in foster care. They turn 18 years old, and more often than not, when they turn 18 years old, they do what's called aging out, which means they turn 18 years old and the state money going to the foster parents run out, and those children are shown to the door, and they're put out on the street with no family, no support system to look to. So there are a lot of children to be adopted. So when we vote no on the initiative, the amendment, on Initiative 26, when we vote no on it, just so that we can have not just a child to raise and love and to train up in the fear and admonition of the Lord and to pass on a heritage and a legacy to, but so that we can have one that shares our bloodline, so that we can have one that's really a child of ours and not just an adopted one. My stepdad that raised me, he was adopted. Jesus was adopted. But when we say that having an adopted child is not good enough because we want to have that fertilized, that IVF, that genetic bloodline child, we're saying that in order for us to get exactly what we want, that we're willing to accept or condone or overlook or turn a blind eye to the killing of 40 million people since Roe v. Wade, and another 40 million probably over the next 40 years. So think about that. Birth control, same thing. Will you have open access to birth control like you do right now? I think you will, but you may not. But you vote no on Amendment 26 just so that you can continue to get birth control, or not even take the risk of not being able to get birth control, is saying so that I know that I'm not going to have here's the word, the burden of getting pregnant and the burden of having another child. So now children are burdens. They're not blessings now, they're burdens. So that I don't have the burden of getting pregnant, having a child. So I can access the pill and the IUD and the whatever else. So that I can have my life the way I want it. Then I'm going to overlook, condone the killing of 40 million people. I mean, that's really what we're saying. Because I've only had one person out of the probably dozen, maybe 18 people I've talked to about this amendment over the last 2 or 3 days. I've had one person tell me that they didn't believe that it was a person. I had one person pull out the old, it's not even a human being, it's just a blob of cells line on me. No one else that I talked to. Many of them friends of mine I know, some of them friends of those friends. But I haven't had the first one of them try to tell me that they didn't believe that fertilized egg was a person. Some of them outright admitted that it was a person. And they would say things like, well, I don't believe in abortion. I think it's wrong. But what about in vitro? What about birth control pills? What about IUDs? What about my convenience that I want to keep from getting pregnant? Or what about the thing that I want called a genetically related child? That's what I want. And if it's going to impede what I want, then even though I don't support abortion, I'll just look the other way. While the American Holocaust continues and 40 million babies are sucked into a sink, thrown into a dumpster, so that I can have my life the way I want it. And believe me, I'm not trying to belittle infertile couples or women who use birth control pills or any of that sort of stuff. I'm just saying that when you boil it down to what we really mean, when we stop lying to ourselves and wording things in compassionate ways or sympathetic, empathetic language, well, I'm not really for abortion, but, and all of that sort of stuff. And we boil it down to really, really, really what's in our heart. The bottom line of it, when you boil it down to what we really mean, then what we really mean is, I want what I want, when I want it, for as long as I want it, as much as I want it. And if it means that there's a chance, which is a definite chance, that the door will be left open for 40 million people to be killed before they can even defend themselves, innocent people can be killed, then that's the chance I'll take so I can get what I want. When you vote no on 26 because of IVF, birth control, all those sorts of things, then that's what you're saying. And if that's the situation that Mississippi is in right now, or this country is in right now, then I don't know what to say. God help us all. Thank you.